the NFL scripted or is it not?
Man, I think they got billions of reasons to have an interest in who's there.
Is the NFL scripted? And I'm going to yell it a little louder because I don't think you heard me. Is the NFL scripted or is it not?
Absolutely. There you go.
Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, so you're a flat earther, NFL scripted. No, we're going all the way that way. All the way with
all the other conspiracies, but sometimes when you start labeling yourself sports entertainment and there's billions of dollars on the line, I don't believe there's not some people, blowing some wind in the sail to make the boat move, if that makes sense.
Welcome to Big B Daily. No frauds allowed.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Big B Daily Show. This is your man, Brian Hanley, Big B. What is going on? We are live again, as always, on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. What is happening, everybody? What is going on out there? Again, as always, on TikTok, keep tapping the screen, man. 5,000 likes, at least 30 new follows. If you happen to be in here and not following, give us a follow. We got a lot to cover today. Same thing on YouTube, man. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, please subscribe to Big B Sports Talk. A lot of stuff that you wouldn't get on TikTok, you will get on YouTube. Interviews, podcasts, Hot Soup Fantasy Football, a lot of breakouts, a lot of shorts. Come on over and subscribe. Let's get into this, people. Lot to talk about today. First thing is, in the first two topics, we're going to talk about scapegoating. The 49ers, look, they scapegoat Steve Wilks. Let's just call it what it is. Kyle Shanahan has decided that, you know what, we lost. I want the heat to be taken off of me, and we're going to put the blame on Steve Wilks. We got people that I've seen blaming Steve Wilks, talking about he wasn't a good defensive coordinator, which is absolute garbage. Talking about, he called a zero blitz against Minnesota again at the end of the half, and it cost him a touchdown. We're talking about one play in a game in October at the end of a half. And people are going back to that to try to say, no, and again, we've got people in here. No, they didn't. Wilks has been a problem all year. He had to be called down from the box. No, he didn't have to be called down from the box. That's just what Kyle Shanahan chose to do. He didn't have to be called down. And we're talking about a decent DC. That's what somebody on TikTok is trying to say, that he was just decent. Okay, well, let's look into that. They had the number one defense last year. They were third this year. I think they were ninth this year. But they had basically the exact same stats as a year ago. They gave up 0.8 more points than a year ago. I mean, is that what we're talking about? 0.8 points. Not 8 full points. 0.8 points more than a year ago. That's what he gave up. So I don't understand what we're talking about. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. 0.8 points. And I mean, people are whining about Steve Wilks. Here's the one thing that I know for an absolute fact. DeMeco Ryans, everybody, he was an awesome defensive coordinator for the 49ers. They played against the Chiefs last year, and they got destroyed. Destroyed. Last year. Steve Wilks' defense this year gave up one touchdown and had the 49ers in position to win the Super Bowl. That's what I know. That's what I know. That happened. They had him in position to win, and they didn't. And it wasn't his fault at all. Not even a little bit was it his fault. Not even a little bit. You're going to tell me that in regulation that Steve Wilks can hold a Patrick Mahomes team to 1 touchdown? And the only touchdown that they gave up was because the ball hit off the back of a guy's ankle on a punt. It wasn't because the Chiefs drove all the way down the field and scored. The ball hit off the back of a guy's ankle on a punt, and the momentum, they scored the next play. Not to mention they did all of this without one of the top linebackers in the league who blew his Achilles out running onto the football field. That's what we're talking about. And you're blaming that guy? That's the guy that's the problem? Give me a break, man. Give me a break. I don't want to hear it. And then to say, well, it wasn't the right fit. Well, then why'd you hire him? You knew what kind of defensive coordinator he was. He didn't fit in your system. But yet you hired him anyway. He did a good job of fitting in what you wanted him to do. And because you don't get the job done on your end, well, we got to blame somebody, and we definitely can't blame me. So we got to blame Steve Wilks. Yes, it's got to be Steve Wilks' fault. It's got to be. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, like I said, Kyle Shanahan he doesn't want to take all the heat because, again, he got away from what brought him there and couldn't run out the clock in enough time to win a football game. So, and people saying that he wasn't aggressive enough, I don't get that. The man blitzed 46% of the time. That's not what the 49ers want to do. People are mad because he played zone defense. You guys saw those corners for San Francisco. You think those guys are lining up just locking people down? No, they weren't. Either way, whatever you want to say, Steve Wilks was not the problem. To fire him and say that he's the issue, and then they're going to look internally, supposedly, to bring somebody else. You think somebody internally is better than Steve Wilks? Then if that's what you thought, why didn't you hire them to begin with? It's a scapegoat job. It's a scapegoat job. I don't care what anybody says. And I know 49er fans are mad, and they're going to be mad at me. They're going to be calling me everything under the sun. That's fine. But the bottom line is Steve Wilks was not the problem. He was not the problem. What, because you don't have the number 1 defense in the National Football League, all of a sudden you're not good? And they weren't 12th, they were 9th. They led the league in interceptions. I mean, they had a really good defense this year. Does the players take any onus on some of the problems? Could it possibly be the players? Or no? It was just coaching. Couldn't possibly be the players, right? I mean, Nick Bosa was the defensive player of the year before. Did he even play anywhere close to that level this year? No, he didn't. Are you blaming that on Steve Wilks? So that's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. And I'm not saying that Bosa played bad. I'm just saying he was the defensive player of the year a year ago. He didn't play anywhere close to that level this year. And if you're going to try to blame Steve Wilks for that, you're insane. So, exactly. Somebody said it on TikTok. Holding Mahomes to 19 points in regulation when the only touchdown, again, came because the ball hit off the back of somebody's foot on a punt, and then you fire that guy? That's insane. It's insane. It's deflecting at the highest level. It's literally deflecting at the highest level. You don't like Steve Wilks and what he did, you should have never hired the guy to begin with. Should have never hired him if that's what you thought. If he wasn't a good fit, you knew the kind of defensive coordinator that he was. You knew that he didn't run the same system that you wanted to run. Well, then why did you hire him? I mean, seriously. So, and someone had to go. This is what somebody, however, in this day and age, someone had to go. Why does somebody have to go after you lost in overtime in the Super Bowl? I could see somebody had to go if, you were supposed to go to the Super Bowl and you finished 9-8. Yes, I get that. Somebody's got to go. But you're telling me that somebody has to go. Somebody's got to be fired because you lost in overtime to the best quarterback in the world, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the National Football League. You lost in overtime, partly because the head coach didn't do his job. Somebody's got to get fired? Is that how it works? No, you're wrong. You're wrong. And again, Kyle Shanahan is just using him as a scapegoat. Period, point blank. He doesn't want to take the heat. So if he fires him, it will deflect. Like I said, this is a deflection at the highest level. Somebody says, Big Doug, I'm a Cowboys fan. Wilks is getting railroaded. Yeah, he is. Because basically what they're doing is trying to trash this man's name and saying he wasn't a good defensive coordinator because you're firing him because you lost the Super Bowl, saying that it was his fault. It was not his fault you lost the Super Bowl. It wasn't even close to his fault for you losing the Super Bowl. So it's crazy. It's just crazy. And I don't get it. I mean, I thought the Niners were going to be just fine. Get him another year in the system. Guys get more used to his style. Get some other players in certain positions. You're almost certainly going to need another linebacker because I don't know if Greenlaw is going to be back in time to play. I'm sure he'll come back at some point. Beef up that secondary a little bit and go make another run at it. Instead, we got to fire the defensive coordinator. It just wasn't a good fit. Get out of here, Kyle Shanahan. Couldn't possibly be that you couldn't do your job. That couldn't possibly be it. For the third time. Not the first time, not the second time, the third time you got a 10-plus lead in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl, and you get away from your game plan and lose. Somebody on YouTube, my man Pat Cockrell, Shanahan made decisions in critical moments that cost him the game, in my opinion. Know the rules in overtime, which we know Kyle Shanahan didn't know the rules. He's flat out lying. And win the game. Run the football, win the game. Instead of trying to be cute. 1,000%. 1,000%. Kyle Shanahan, I've been talking to my buddies all week. He didn't know the overtime rules. He flat out lied to us. And Juszczyk said so. Now he's trying to walk it back. Juszczyk said so. Nobody talked to us. We didn't know what was going on. That's the truth. Two separate people said the same thing. That's the truth. They didn't know the rules. They never went over it. And then again, he relied on his assistant coaches to tell the guys during the 3-minute break between the end of the game. I mean, what? I don't know. Yeah, get Wilks to Pittsburgh as a coach, and then he can stay 1 year and move on. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all, get Steve Wilks to Pittsburgh. I would not mind that one iota. And to be honest, I wouldn't care if they replaced Terrell Austin as defensive coordinator with Steve Wilks. I wouldn't mind that at all. But Steve Wilks deserves a job in the National Football League, and he's not going to have one this year. because he got fired after all the jobs were taken by just a cowardly coach that didn't want to take the heat for his mistakes and wants to blame everything on Wilks. I hate it. I hate it. People are saying Vrabel to San Francisco. Vrabel's not going to be a defensive coordinator anywhere. That's not what he's doing. At least I don't believe so. So, and yeah, it was just garbage. It was just garbage. Which leads us into our next topic, fraud of the week. I know you guys may have a lot of thoughts on who might be fraud of the week. And usually this is a team effort. You know, we always have a team effort on who fraud of the week is and all that good stuff. And not this week. Kyle Shanahan is the fraud of the week. Period, point blank. He is fraud of the week. For the third time in the Super Bowl, he's given up leads. 10-plus leads. Not doing his job. Blaming other people. Firing people. Get out of here, man. Not having his team prepared. Kyle Shanahan, fraud of the week. And I know 49er fans, you're going to be upset. You're going to be mad. Just, it is what it is. It is what it is. The man's a fraud. And not only that, are we sure that Kyle Shanahan is that great of a coach? Now, yesterday I said pump the brakes on firing him. Now, I don't think that we should fire Kyle Shanahan. I don't think people should be running out of their shoes to try to fire Kyle Shanahan. I think that would be nuts. But do we think that he's the world's greatest coach? I mean, how many times does he get to blow leads in the Super Bowl? I mean, if this is other coaches, we're beating their head in. Somebody said McVay is better. Absolutely. There's a lot of coaches that you could say are better. But like I said, how many times does he get to do this? And you're right, he makes it to the Super Bowl. That's why I think it's nuts. Yesterday, there was a ton of 49er fans said we need to fire Shanahan. I'm like, hold on, wait a second. Firing him is not the answer. Him getting better can be the answer. Him learning from mistakes should be the answer, not firing him. 49ers had a horrible history. You don't want to go back to that. So I would pump the brakes before you say you're going to fire the guy. So I just, it is what it is. It is what it is. David Gonzalez on YouTube said, you might disagree with his decision to scapegoat the DC, but he's won 3 conference championships. Fraud? Too strong. Absolutely not. First of all, he's won 2 conference championships. Let's start there. Not 3. And 2, the defensive coordinator it wasn't responsible for them losing. I could see if they gave up 40 points to the Chiefs and they couldn't stop them. Hey, we got to make a change. We're here in the big game, and our defense just shit the bed. That's not what happened. That ain't what happened at all. The man came in and did his job and held Patrick Mahomes in check, and that's the guy that gets fired. It's crazy. If any coach deserved the firing, it was special teams coach. I mean, yeah. Special teams made 2 blunders. The kicker kicking the ball into the back of the lineman's head. And on the punt return, the ball hitting off the guy's leg. Both are freak plays, except maybe the kicker. That was just a bad kick. But either way, Jiminy Christmas. He said Zach Wilson did a better job against the Chiefs. I mean, you're not lying. You're not lying. People keep saying bring in Vrabel. Yeah, I don't think Vrabel is going to be running to be a defensive coordinator anywhere. Now, he might be. This might be, you know what? I'll be a defensive coordinator one year and get back into head coaching. I think Vrabel thought he was going to go get himself a job. So maybe that is the answer. Maybe you bring in Vrabel. But Vrabel doesn't run that system. He doesn't run that system. So you thinking that he's the guy? Get out of here. Scapegoat. Kyle Shanahan is a fraud. Fraud of the week. Fraud of the week. Stop choking in the big moments. Stop scapegoating assistants that don't deserve it. So they can't put Wilks in Dallas. Dallas just hired a defensive coordinator yesterday, Mike Zimmer. So I don't know. I feel strongly about it. Like I said, I like Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan is a good football coach. But this week, Kyle Shanahan is fraud of the week. He is the fraud of the week. Doesn't mean he needs to be fired. Doesn't mean anything even remotely close to that. But you can still be a fraud of the week and be good. It's just the way it works. Matter of fact, you all know my philosophy. You can't be a fraud unless you are considered good. I mean, if you suck and you stink, well, you're not a fraud because you're not any good. The only way that you get to be in the fraud of the week is if people think that you're good. And I believe Kyle Shanahan's a good coach. This week, fraud of the week. Got to be better. Got to be better. So, How many teams would be thrilled if their coach could get them to overtime in the Super Bowl? Lots of teams would be thrilled by that. Says my man David Gonzalez says how many teams would be thrilled if they could get their teams to the Super Bowl? A lot of teams. But you know what a lot of teams wouldn't in turn do? Fire the defensive coordinator when the defensive coordinator was the reason that you had the lead that you couldn't hold. He was the reason that you're in the game. That's what a lot of teams wouldn't do. Hey, man, the defense is playing lights out. Let's fire that guy. And just crazy. And I'm not going to believe that either, Rebel Baller over on TikTok. He said you can't be satisfied with just getting there. Nobody says you're satisfied, but you're not firing people because you get to the Super Bowl. Yeah. You don't fire people that are doing their job, doing it very well. Let's not mistake or kid ourselves. Steve Wilks, their defense was still very, very good. They weren't bad. We act like they finished 25th in the league. They were very good. So, Mark says, but you're fine with Tomlin? Mark, you're new here, aren't you? You're very new here. Because if you weren't, you would know that anybody but me is fine with Tomlin. So the laughing emojis and saying you're fine with Tomlin, do a little research, and then come back and talk to us, brother. So didn't say I didn't blame Wilks. So I don't know. It is what it is. Yeah. Tomlin, I'm still not sold. No, I'm not sold on Mike Tomlin either. Let's move on, people. Again, as always, everybody that's on TikTok, we appreciate it. Keep tapping the screen. We need at least 5,000 likes. Big B Daily Show is Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time. We appreciate all y'all being here, telling people about us. We've grown. Thank you, guys. And if you're not following, please give us a follow. We appreciate that. More importantly, click on the YouTube link in my bio and come subscribe to Big B Sports Talk over on YouTube. Come join the live chat. A lot of stuff that you will get, a lot of information that you get over on the YouTube channel that you don't get on TikTok. So come on over. Come on over and subscribe. We appreciate it. Thank you for the follow, Paula. Thank you for the follow, Lewis. We appreciate it. All right. Now let's get into this, people. Look, the first thing that I'm going to say when we start talking about this nonsense at the Chiefs parade, the one thing that I am not going to do, and I'm not going to allow it, is we're not going to get political. We can have this conversation, people, and not get political. Just be outraged. Just be outraged. Because here's the thing, and this is the only political part that I'm going to say. You got one side saying we got to regulate all the guns. We got another side saying that we don't, and nothing gets done, which means both sides are complicit. That's all I'm going to say. Both sides don't give a shit, really, because if they did, they do something, and neither does anything except send thoughts and prayers, which doesn't help anybody. That's it. Bottom line is, it's absolutely ridiculous that you can't go to a Super Bowl celebration and go celebrate, have fun. They shut down schools in Kansas City. They shut down businesses in Kansas City. 1 million people were down there in Kansas City hanging out. And you're telling me we can't go down there and have fun? We can't go and celebrate one of our sports teams winning? We're not allowed to do that? I mean, and it's so bad. You've got idiots that made a comment on a post that I made yesterday. There were idiots that said, yeah, it's sad that what happened, but it was a fake parade. It was a fake parade, and the Chiefs got what they deserved. I hope they're happy. They're responsible. That's the kind of nonsense that's going on right now, people. People are blaming the Chiefs for winning the Super Bowl, and because they believe that it's rigged, all of a sudden it was a rigged celebration. Well, the person that died, was that rigged? I'm just asking. I mean, is that rigged? Are they off on some island somewhere? I don't have the patience for nonsense. Y'all know me. I'm pretty fun-loving. I'll get after you if you say something silly. But for the most part, we try to have fun. We try to have fun. But I'm just not going to put up with the nonsense and the idiocy of people that can't understand that this country has huge flaws. Huge flaws. And the one thing that I will say, and I'm going to keep saying it, humans suck. Humans suck. And there's nothing else that I can explain. And it's not all humans. It's not even the majority of the humans. It's not even the vast majority of humans. But somewhere in that percentage, humans suck. and it's just, you can't go celebrate. I mean, all those kids that were down there. And then again, I don't want to get into which reports were right, because there's reports that there were 11 kids that got shot. Then there were reports that there were no kids that got shot. Although I used to live in Kansas City, and I know people that work at Children's Mercy, and they said, no, they got 8 gunshot wounds to children. And I'm like, what is going on? I just can't get it. In the country that just won't understand that we just have to change. We got to be better. It's just, to me, it's insane. It's just insane that we can't go to things like that, and we can't hang out. We can't have fun. And we have to be marred in nonsense and have to worry about it. Because what they'll do is they just will stop having those parades. They'll just stop having them. So they will stop having them. And what are we going to do? But that's all I want to say about that. It's too depressing. It pisses me off, quite frankly. Let's get back to sports, people. Let's get back to sports. So let's open this thing up. Did anybody see Draymond Green yesterday? I don't know we talked about Draymond yesterday, but did y'all happen to see what Draymond did in his game yesterday? And I said it yesterday, And I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm being a little bit too hard on Draymond. Maybe I'm taking it a little bit overboard on Draymond. No, I'm not. I didn't go hard enough. Draymond Green is an absolute idiot, people. He hasn't learned a lesson. He hasn't learned anything. Draymond Green is an absolute idiot. Again, he hasn't learned anything. At what point? I mean, he's sticking his tongue out at people. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Oh my God, this guy is insane. And I know that's a bad word. I know we're not supposed to call people insane, but he's insane. I think he's got something wrong. He's mad saying people are questioning my character. Well, what shouldn't we question? It's your character. You're acting insane. You're acting crazy. Oh my God. And maybe it is all just an act. I get it. Maybe it is just an act. Well, just like I said, you're acting insane. So, my man Bill Myers over on TikTok, he got problems. Yeah, he does, man. And no, you're exactly right, Shelby. His teammates didn't have his back. Y'all see the play where he gets elbowed in the face? They went up and down the court like 3 times, and he's just laying on the court. Nobody did nothing. They just went up and down the court, both sides. I mean, I think they played like 45 seconds after he's just laying on the court. They're like, it's Draymond. Let's keep it moving. That's how you know people have had enough. That's how you know his teammates have had enough. They're just over it. I have no idea, Rebel, what's wrong with the guy, man. I don't know. And here's the thing I'll say about Draymond. Everybody says he's a Hall of Famer. I don't believe that. I believe he'll get in, but he's not no Hall of Fame basketball player. But the NBA lets everybody in. So it is what it is. I believe he's been a very integral part of the Warriors dynasty. He absolutely has. You're not being honest if you say that he isn't. But you can also say that he's not a great basketball player either. He plays really good defense. He initiates the offense. He's a key part to what they do. But you know what? Ron Harper was a key part to the Bulls, too. He was a key part. B.J. Armstrong was a key part to the Bulls. Those guys aren't in the Hall of Fame. B.J. Armstrong got 3 rings. He's not in the Hall of Fame. So it's stuff like that is what I'm talking about. Everybody just has to, he's got to be. I'm like, no, he doesn't have to be in the Hall of Fame. Why? Yeah, he's a good defensive player. But if you take him off of Golden State, and more power to him, he's capitalized on his ability. So that is absolutely a possibility. It's just, let me take a step back here. If you're Draymond Green, he took advantage of what he was given. He was drafted by a team that had some outstanding shooters. And with his skill set, he was able to profit off of that. You can't fault him for that. That's actually good on his part. Understand your role. So, understand your role. He did a great job of that. So, and yes, he will absolutely get in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt in my mind. But the NBA lets everybody in the Hall of Fame these days. The NBA, the NFL, they let everybody in these days. Baseball, they let everybody in. I mean, it's not the Hall of Fame anymore. It's the Hall of Very Good. It's the Hall of Very Good. And I like what Dion said in these Hall of Fames. Hey, you got to build a special room for certain people and put those guys in that room because it's not fair to have them in the same group. For instance, Wilt Chamberlain has to be in the same room possibly as Draymond Green? Is that what we're doing? Charles Barkley has to be in the same room as Draymond Green? And I know people are going to say Charles Barkley never won a title. Are you serious? Are we comparing Draymond Green to Charles Barkley? Let's not be stupid, people. So let's not be crazy. We got somebody over here. If you watched the Niners all year, Wilks wasn't it. Define wasn't it, Bradley. Because I know that's the cliche and everybody, the young person thing to say online. He wasn't it. Define wasn't it about Steve Wilks. Define it. Don't just say it. Define it. You came on here yapping. Now define it. And if you say that he called a zero blitz at the end of the half against Minnesota, then you're getting, I'm making fun of you. I'm making fun of you. But if you can't define it, stop talking about it. So, David said, so you're always right because you're on live. I'm right to me. And I wouldn't be talking about something if I wasn't. So, and if you don't think I'm right, David, you do know what you can do, right? If you want to argue and be mad and be disrespectful, you're not being disrespectful, but we can disagree. But that doesn't mean that I always have to be right because you're trying to be disrespectful. But you know what you can do? There's always something that you can do. Wilks had arguably a most talented defense in the league and barely put together a top 15 season. So they were the number 9 defense in the league. They led the league in interceptions. From the number 1 defense in the league last year, their team gave up 0.8 more points per game and less yards per game. And you're saying from that, he wasn't any good? That he wasn't it? I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. The number 1 defense in the league last year. This defense this year was 9th, so it wasn't as good overall. It gave up 0.1 points more a game and less yards a game and led the league in interceptions. That's not it? So, it's crazy. It's crazy. No, you said he wasn't it. You didn't say he wasn't good, but underperformed. What were the expectations? If you give up less yards a game, you gave up basically the same number of points a game. What did you expect him to do? I don't know. But I do say this, and this is where Wild fans get crazy, is that the fans will say, for instance, Patrick Mahomes, his first year, came out and threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. He didn't do that the next year, and fans said, well, he wasn't as good. Even though he threw for 47 touchdowns and 4,600 yards, but he wasn't as good as the year before. Is that what we're doing in this case? Saying his expectations, he should have been better. Or could we say maybe the players just didn't play as good as what they did the year before? Do we give that any latitude? I'm just asking. Do we give that any credence? Or does it all have to be the coach? That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Does it have to be the coach? Because you're blaming him. And just like I mentioned earlier, Nick Bosa was the defensive player of the year last year. That was him. He didn't play anywhere close to that this year. Does he deserve any responsibility? That's all I'm asking. Does he deserve any responsibility? So, or no? No. He doesn't deserve any responsibility. It's the coach's fault. Yeah, somebody talking about adding Chase Young. I wouldn't pump my chest out about that. Chase Young's not that good. Ain't no way in the world he's going to be back on the 49ers this year. No way, no how. So the only good coaches are the ones that get head coaching offers. Got it. Senior John. So Steve Spagnuolo, for the Chiefs defensive coordinator, I would guess he's pretty good. How many head coaching offers did he receive? I'm just asking a question. Just asking a question. Some guys are meant to be defensive coordinators or coordinators in general, and some guys are meant to be head coaches. Not to mention, we don't even know that Steve Wilks can't be a good coach because the only opportunity that he got, he was basically a bridge coach in Arizona. They gave him 1 year where they had with the worst roster in the league, no quarterback. Josh Rosen was his quarterback. And then, no, we're not any good. We knew we weren't going to be any good, so we'll just fire you. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. So was Jim Schwartz a good coach? He was okay, but he's a coordinator. And I don't think anybody's going to give him another head coaching job, but he's a damn good coordinator. So, and when he was at Carolina, he did just fine. And you see what happened at Carolina. They love Steve Wilks at Carolina. They loved him there. And not only did they love him, they were playing good when he was there. But what did old David Tepper do? Nope, we don't want this guy that the players want, that the players are responding to. We don't want that guy. We're going to go hire a guy who literally just got fired for being bad at his job. We'll hire that guy. And lo and behold, 11 games in, you fired him too. Get out of here, man. I love Steve Wilks. I'm not saying he's the perfect coach. I'm not saying he's the world's greatest coach. I'm saying Steve Wilks didn't deserve to be fired. Period, point blank. And nothing he did this year said, you know what? We got to fire this guy. Nothing he did. Nothing says he's not good enough. We got to fire him. Nothing he did. And if you thought he was that bad during the season, how many teams have fired coordinators during the season? Lots of teams fired their coordinators during the season. It happens all the time. If you don't think it's going right and you think it's going better or should be going better, teams fire coordinators all the time in the middle of the season, especially when it's the system. Remember, that's what Kyle Shanahan said. It's his system. And Wilks wasn't a good fit for the system. So you get rid of Wilks midway through the season and bring somebody in that's familiar with the system if you don't think it's going right. But that ain't what happened. That ain't what happened at all. He waits till the last game of the year, and not only the last game of the year where the defense played well. The defense did its job. The defense shut down one of the greatest quarterbacks to play in the National Football League to 1 touchdown, 19 points in regulation. It did its job. What are you saying, that the 49ers should have shut the Chiefs out? I mean, my God. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. They used him as a scapegoat. I didn't like it. His scheme didn't align with all the other players. Yeah, Kyle Shanahan's a joke. Kyle Shanahan's a joke. Oh, well, he's a great coach, but he used him as a scapegoat. He's definitely the fraud of the week, people, without question. Don't fire Kyle Shanahan. No, that's not what I'm saying either. Don't jump to conclusions and think we have to fire the guy. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is don't act like you didn't scapegoat Steve Wilks to take the pressure off of you. We're all smarter than that. Everybody on YouTube, everybody on TikTok, we are all smarter than that. And we know that Kyle Shanahan scapegoated Steve Wilks. Period, point blank, end of discussion. So that defense underperformed. Defined underperformed. Leading the league in interceptions, giving up less yards than they did a year ago. Is that what you would define as underperforming? So, and I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in Vrabel, if Vrabel wants to get back into doing that. So, The 49ers defense was not 25. Now you're just lying to try to be right. Somebody should tell this guy you can't lie in here to try to be right. Now the run defense was bad. I'll say that. The run defense had leaks all over the place. The run defense was bad. Leaks everywhere. But was that him? Since, again, they were running that same system, or was it the players? Let's just ask that question. So, I don't know. I think it's probably a little bit of both. I'm not going to say Steve Wilks was the greatest coordinator ever, because he's not. But did he deserve to be fired? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So. Oh, well. We're going to shut this one down for today, people. We appreciate everybody being here. Thank you guys for taking the time to join Big B Daily Show. Again, it's Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time, live on TikTok, live on YouTube. We appreciate everybody. TikTok, if you're not following, please give us a follow. We appreciate it. Give us a follow. And if you get time, go ahead and click on that YouTube link in my bio and come subscribe to Big B Sports Talk over on YouTube. Come join the live over there. Come join and subscribe. Like I said, you get a lot of access to a lot of different things, podcasts, shorts, breakdowns that you don't get on TikTok. We appreciate everybody. Thank you, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha.